Hey, Frans, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, let's get into it. This super exciting conversation right now with everything that's going on in the world of, AI, compute, energy. So I wanted to start off with, I know that you started researching these Bitcoin mining companies about 2 years ago when their stocks were just trading in the low single digits. What initially got you interested in the sector?
Well, I originally got pulled into this sector by Amit, his YouTube channel, Amit's Investing, and I was watching that daily. And at some point, he mentioned that a cousin of him or a friend of his mentioned bit farms, and he bought some calls, and then it went from $2 to $3, and he sold it all. And yeah, I saw someone making like a lot of money in a very short period of time, and so I decided to get into this space. I got an X account, and that's how the ball got rolling. And I started to meet all these people that are still here. So that's how it went, basically.
Okay. And before we talk about what the companies are actually doing today and their future prospects, I just want to go back in time with you a little bit to discuss what those companies were up to 2 years ago and what you saw in them. So, can you explain who were the main players in the industry back then and also provide a brief description of how they differentiated themselves from one another at the time?
Well, the first big name that I got into myself was actually Mara. And that was actually because one of my friends from here in Thailand, he told me that he held some Mara. And so I just followed his advice and I bought in, I think it was in the $16 range. And then it went up like in the 30s. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to sell it because I made double my money. And yeah, that was my first experience with investing in a Bitcoin miner, and I had no idea about fundamentals or about hash rate or how many exahash they had. So then the whole thing came with X, where I started to you know get into the rabbit hole, and that's when I found out about CleanSpark, about Riot, and about some of the smaller miners like Iren and Wolf at the time. So yeah, it was. I just bought a basket of them, so I had some of a little bit of everything except for Mara that I really got out of because it ran up too quick back then. And yeah, that's when I started to dig into it a bit more, and I got in touch with the Bitcoin mining stock guy from the Mining Mafia, and I joined the Mining Mafia, and that's when I started to zoom in a lot more. I met Umbisam, who was a big spokesman for CleanSpark and Iren, and so that were the two focuses of me because I was really buying his story because he had good, he had a good data on everything. And then I finally found out that the real differentiator is the efficiency and the build speed and the team. So mostly I was very convinced by the team of Iron, and that's when I also dropped CleanSpark and I went on with only with Iron, and later I added some Cipher. But I guess and in the beginning the market cap and the names were more important to me, like the big Riot and Mara and CleanSpark. And after I really started to zoom in, that's when other metrics became more important. So the differentiator for me was no longer the fame or the past cycle, but really, how are their future prospects? So yeah, that's how I ended up with Iron.
Okay. And what were some of those metrics that you were looking at? What stood out to you?
Well, originally it was the biggest players had the biggest hash rate, and that was supposed to be then the best to pick. But if you start to zoom in, you see that how is the fleet composition, how is the efficiency of that fleet, and what is the amount of capex they spend on their data centers, what kind of data centers, and yeah, so that's when you start to see who is making more money than the other one per exahash. And I was really appalled by the SG&A of the big miners like Mara and Riot, like the stock compensation that they were distributing on a quarterly basis. It's just outrageous, and I principally can't agree with that, especially if you see that some of the other miners, smaller ones, uh, were catching up in hash rate, and we're doing it much more, prudent without these extreme high stock compensations. So yeah, I learned my lesson really quickly about which company to invest in and which one to avoid.
Awesome. So yeah, you can't really just follow all the hype, have to do the digging. You also mentioned that you were part of this investing community, Mining Mafia, I believe. Can you talk a little bit about that community, how that maybe has supported your journey, and you know, how it helps you as an investor?
Yeah, so I used to be very active in the mining mafia and also quite vocal. When I found the community, I don't know exactly how it happened. I think the algorithm brought me to the Bitcoin mining stock guide. I think the community was like a couple of hundred people. So I was I think I was within the first 500 or something like that, maybe even less. But that was a new thing for me, and you start to talk to people who are fellow investors, and you see how they do their due diligence and what sources they're using. And I was mostly like using only like Seeking Alpha, something like that. But at some point, you start to know where to look, how to look, and who to talk to. And yeah, the people you meet on X are really the biggest source of information. So um, that's why this community was very important to me early on. And I'm still in a close contact with the Bitcoin mining stock guy. He's actually a subscriber to me, so we uh, we basically talk every day in our subscriber group. So that's very interesting, and I owe a lot to him because his community at some point went viral, and the algorithm was like pushing people's posts to 5 million views. Like you just could post like something, and then you were instantly eligible for monetization because there is a threshold of 5 million impressions in 3 months. But so I had one of those posts that went viral, and it was like just something random, not very deep thought like I sometimes post. And that was my way into becoming a maker on X. And if you are a maker, I don't know, it just helps you with your reach. And so if your reach explodes, you get more people coming to you, and out of those people, there are very valuable connections. And so that's why I will always cherish my time with the Mining Mafia, despite not posting in there a lot anymore. But yeah, I'm still in there, but I'm mostly posting outside of the community now.
Hey, that's wonderful. And yeah, X can be a gold mine if you know how to if you know where to look. A lot of noise too, but you gotta dial that down. Iren Cipher Mining. A lot of these companies have performed extremely well this year. I think a lot of people would probably be dying to know if you could tell us roughly what entry level did you get in price wise.
Yeah, so I think roughly 2 years ago, I started by Iren in the $7 range first, and then I bought it all the way down to like $4, I think it was, and back up to 11, and then we went down again somewhere this year. I think it was in March or April. So I think my average now is somewhere in the $9 range. I also got exercised on some puts a couple of times that bring your average up. But yeah, so I'm in Iron now for about 2 years, and I've been accumulating all the way. Currently, I'm mostly focusing on options to lever my position a bit. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with my entry levels, and I don't plan on selling any shares anytime soon.
Can you talk about what gives you the conviction to, start buying something at $7 and then, it drops to 4? That's a pretty big drop to keep buying at that point, and then also to even dollar cost average up, so you're still buying at 11. Can you share a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, well, that's actually the beauty of starting to know the company, understand what they're doing. So when I bought at $7, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really know them that well, but that's when I started to get in touch with people like Umbisam, for example, who is very vocal about what he owns, and he really gave me a good look into the fundamentals of the company. And that's when I just started to look at the filings, the earnings filing, the earnings reports, and you can just you apply a few simple metrics, and you can see who's going to be profitable with this skill and who is not going to become profitable. And yeah, so that was really why I got more conviction, and I knew that Iren was special. And I saw the whole pipeline, and I saw more interviews with the management. And so buying at $4 and $5 after seven, it was not always fun, but it was definitely worth it. Well, it's easy to say right now with Iron above $50, but I'm happy that I, stayed true to my conviction. So, and that's why I'm still I have a lot of conviction, because I know that, well, in my opinion, they've only just started. So.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. I think the market cap's like 16 billion or something like that. So, fairly small relative to some of the bigger AI, and other like compute data center plays that we see. You mentioned options there. You made a reference to puts. You said you started doing options a bit more. Were the puts more so like protective puts to hedge your position? And then with the options, are you now looking at call options, and how are you thinking about that? Can you kind of walk us through your strategy as it relates to that versus, just buying stock on the open market?
Yeah, so no, it's not protective puts. I only sell puts, so that's actually what I've been doing. Basically, after my first couple of months of investing, I started to explore options, and selling puts is just a way either to generate cash flow or to buy shares at a discount. And for me, that has turned out quite well. I have been exercised a couple of times at unfortunate big sell-offs, which happens with these miners. But yeah, no, for me it's really a way to accumulate more shares in the beginning. Right now, I do a mix of bi-weekly puts, like bull puts. So you sell a put and then you buy a put at a lower level, so you get the spread, and that makes you able to. In my broker gives me a lot of contract, a way to sell a lot of contracts within margin or cash. So the collateral is a lot lighter if you have a tail protection with a long put at a lower strike, so to say. So it's a bit technical, but that's what I do. And of course, when the stock was around $4, $5, $6, $7, I bought a lot of calls, a lot of leaps for 2026, 2027.
Legendary.
Well, yeah, those are looking really good right now. I still have a big stack of 2027 calls for Iron of Strike 10 that I bought under $4, and that's just yeah, they're worth over $50 for a contract now. So I mean, for a share for a contract, it's like yeah, $5,000. So it's a good way if you have conviction, you have a long time frame. And you know what you own, then you don't feel afraid to add exposure or leverage exposure even, in my opinion. And that's just how I've done it, and yeah, it's paid off so far.
Wow, wonderful. Yeah, and we, as you mentioned with the stocks performance, that's essentially followed how well the company has been performing this year, and these miners, at least for the second half of 2025, have been some of the best performing stocks in the market. And of course, the world has changed since 2022 when you start investing. The biggest themes this year and the key drivers of the economy are really around AI, compute, data centers, and energy. Just this year, Iren is up, what, 400%, or roughly that. But can you break down what you think has changed over the past 2 years and explain the different business verticals that these companies are actually involved in today? So, what is it that really has driven this growth that we're seeing this year?
Yeah, I think if I would have to guess, I can't like give you a definitive answer. I would say that ChatGPT was the cause of this AI boom. I'm not sure if the cause is really the right word, but I guess you could say it was the first thing that made everyone aware of AI. And I think they had like a very explosive user number, and I think that was when the whole world started to notice the AI theme. And after a while, it became apparent that power was needed to power this AI boom, and that's when the miners got in the picture. So I think that if you're looking at the current AI cloud providers, for example, CoreWeave used to be an Ethereum miner, I believe, and a lot of these companies in the space, I think even Crusoe used to be a Bitcoin or an Ethereum miner. So there is some kind of affinity between crypto mining and running data centers for AI, or being a cloud provider. And I think that's why, yeah, the in my opinion, the best Bitcoin miners have a good shot at becoming a good AI cloud provider or a good AI co-location provider. So um, I'm not entirely sure if that answers your question, but it's just I've been mostly in this space, so my I can't really give you a macro answer as to why this has evolved into this. It's just the race for AGI is on, and the power of the Bitcoin miners is required. So that's the part that we are zooming into in our X community.
Yeah, and to your point, a lot of this kicked off with ChatGPT, and that was in 2023. So I'm also wondering, from your perspective, why do you think the market was so late to figure this out and is only now just catching up? You can even make the case that in early 2025, late 2024, it was obvious that AI was a major theme, still a major trade, but it really wasn't until the back half of this year that these miners really started to take off. So, from your perspective, why do you think the market was so late to catch up here?
I think the market has underestimated the amount of power that's needed to power this data center and AI boom. And I think that this underestimation has led to some of these companies being undervalued for too long. For example, well, a Cipher or an Iren with more than a gigawatt of power currently contracted, um, they were like treated like just a Bitcoin miner up to maybe first quarter of this year. Even after March and April, it felt like they were just a Bitcoin miner, and I think now that's really changing, and I think that's because it really turns out that the grid is constrained. These connection agreements, these studies are taking like 4 years, 3 years, and there's just no power coming. And that's why these gas turbines are being shipped from everywhere to power data centers. So I just think that the awareness of the big players in the market and in Wall Street of the the power crunch is just it's just starting to realize it really now. Like Morgan Stanley has been pounding the table for a while now about the value creation of Bitcoin miners and their massive amounts of power, but I haven't really heard it elsewhere a lot. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they have been ignorant. Maybe it's because of the stigma of the whole Bitcoin community and Bitcoin miners. Like a big part of the world still thinks that Bitcoin is for money laundering and criminals. So maybe there is a part of that is why the Bitcoin miners have been ignored for too long.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I mean, this wouldn't be the first time that they're late to a major trade as well. I think about Tesla a couple years ago, retail certainly beat them there as well. But speaking of, thinking about non-Wall Street analysts, folks, on X, there's a fellow miner analyst of yours, Dolce, and he believes Iren can get to a $1 trillion market cap over time. That's more than a 50x increase in market cap from Iron's current valuation. So I'm curious, do you agree with that forecast?
I think it's possible. Is it likely? It really depends. I have some estimates of their pipeline, which should be somewhere around 5 to 7 gigawatts on top of what they currently have disclosed. So that could bring them theoretically to 10 gigawatts somewhere by 2031, 2032. If they would monetize all of that at a reasonable, healthy mix of co-location, Bitcoin mining, and AI cloud. And premium is, the amount of money they can generate per megawatt is not going to deteriorate. It's possible, but it's a stretch. I'm slightly more conservative with 500 billion than myself, but I guess if I feel bullish, which is not today because it's another sell-off day, maybe I would say yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, so 500 billion though, that's half of that. They currently trade at a $16 billion valuation, so that's still a multi-bagger there. Can you explain and you were talking through some of the details there, but can you share a little bit more about both your medium and long-term thesis? How does the company essentially get from a 16 billion to a $100 billion valuation, and then get from 100 billion to your long-term 500 billion target?
Yeah, so they have given us a guidance for 2026. I believe it's 3.4 billion of ARR by the end of 2026. And if you really look at some of the about, for example, the British Columbia chips that they have already purchased that will be installed by the end of March, it's going to give them $500 million of annualized revenue. Uh, so I think that this amount of revenue at a 98% gross margin is just going to make them get more gross profit from AI very quickly than Bitcoin mining. So I think that our valuation right now is a bit distorted by the Bitcoin mining revenue because Wall Street can't really put a very good multiple on a company that is mostly getting their revenue from Bitcoin mining. I mean, it's a very low multiple. So I think we are seeing a partial re-rating now. But with all the plans that the company has disclosed and which I believe they are going to execute on, um, somewhere probably by the middle or the third quarter of next year, I believe it's going to look really good and they're going to be making large amounts of net profit. And I think that's when we're going to see like a full re-rating. And you're going to get like maybe a CoreWeave valuation. Right now, CoreWeave is being sold off very hard because they missed on a guidance, and I don't know what else their company net margins was 4% or something. It's pretty bad. But so the next leg up is going to be 2026. It's going to be like a very important year where they're going to deliver the Microsoft contract, where they're going to get to 3.4, maybe 4 billion of ARR from AI. It's going to totally overshadow the Bitcoin mining revenue, so they will, be able to get a better multiple, and then they should definitely, start to trade over $150 a share. And I think at $300 million float, 300 million share float, you're already. Let's do the math real quick. It's 10:30 here in the evening, so cut me some slack.
No, this is great, Frans. I think the other part of what I'm thinking is like you're talking about how the price is down today. This is like could be a pound the table moment, right? Like these dips could be really good buying opportunities. I'm loving the numbers you're providing here as well. It's really great. I was just thinking this is some great alpha for those tuning in. So please continue. This is really good.
Yeah, well, so that could bring us near 50 billion market cap somewhere next year. So then we're at 10% of 500 billion. So the amount of power that they have to monetize for 3.4 or 4 billion of ARR is still only a fraction of what they currently have disclosed. I believe this is excluding Horizon 5 to 10 in Childress, so there's still 450 megawatts there, and it's excluding the 2 gigawatts of Sweetwater 1 and 2. So let's just say this is 20% of their power. So if you 5x that, you're at $250 billion market cap, and then there is a pipeline behind that. So I think it will be in stages. So next year we could get to 50 billion, and then maybe 2 years later 250. I'm not gonna say they will be off 500 billion by 2028 or something. It's probably gonna be by the end of the decade at the earliest, but it depends what kind of sites they will disclose, how big are those, how they're going to monetize it, and how quick. And is the AI story still alive or not? So there are some buts, but I think it's looking good.
Wonderful. Yeah. No, a lot of people are asking that question. Are we in an AI bubble? Some analysts have even compared it to the dot-com era. Where do you think we're at in the AI cycle, and how do you think it's likely to play out from here?
I don't think it's a bubble. I think there are real customers here, there are real use cases, and just because OpenAI is kind of a question mark doesn't mean the whole AI story is at risk. I think we are still early, especially if we are really going to AGI and ASI. I think that's still a couple of years down the road. So yeah, I think that right now the fear in the markets is not just about an AI bubble. It's about hyperscalers spending too much of their free cash flow on capex. There are a lot of boomers that don't like that. They want Max 7 to print cash and hoard it, like Apple does, for example. And I think that's the new type of companies like the Metas of this world. They just want to grow bigger and innovate. So yeah, maybe it's a shifting of how the market is going to look at these companies. You have like the more conservative analysts that call a bubble, and the most bears I see on X are boomers. Yeah, I'm sorry to say that, but the younger generation seems to be more optimistic and more hopeful and believing and full with conviction. And most of the people of my fellow investors in Iren are also younger than 45. It's just I don't know. I think that's something that we're seeing, um, but I don't think that we're in a bubble, and I think this fear currently in the market is going to blow over. We had like a couple of macro things that have really, shaken up the whole market. I think what we're seeing today is also not related specifically to AI or data centers. When I opened my broker before we started the whole, it was red across the board. So I think it's just not a good time to be long in equities right now. But yeah, that's just these things happen. So yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's definitely been a lot of fear and uncertainty in the market. I think what's super interesting is that we're still relatively near all-time highs, right? So you're seeing the fear and greed index spike. We've had days where the VIX has spiked as well. But you look at the S&P, you look at the Nasdaq 100, you look at some of these top names, and they're pretty much just trading near all-time highs. So it makes you wonder, when a lot of this, you know, uncertainty, the government shutdown ends, a lot of the fear that's happening right now blows over. Will a lot of these companies be re-rated higher? Still yet to be seen, but that's one thing I've been thinking about. And we've talked about a lot about the upside potential of Iren and some of these other miners. From your perspective, what's the downside risk to the Iren thesis? Some folks have talked about maybe, and you touched on this a little bit as well, how they're continuing to invest a lot of their profits. So maybe they're not returning cash to investors right now that some of these baby boomers would like to see. There could be a change in demand for compute. So from your end, yeah, what do you think might be some of the risk to your thesis on Iron?
Well, the main risk is, the elephant in the room is if the AI is a bubble. Obviously, I wouldn't really see that as a risk myself, but the markets can be very irrational, especially if something happens, to one player. Like, for example, let's say OpenAI does get into financing problems or something. That would really be a challenge to keep um, the contracts coming and keep the AI story going. But other than that, it's mostly fundamentally related. I guess the risks could be like if funding risks, maybe too leveraged to debt, maybe some execution risks, maybe a shortage of long lead time items. There could be a number of reasons why it could become difficult. But I really trust this team. So I met with basically everyone in the upper management at least once, and I've been to their site in Texas, both sites actually in Texas, and I just it's not like I don't have a tunnel vision or I don't see any problems on the way, but if I have to believe that anyone is able to pull off this large scale infrastructure build out and monetization of a power pipeline, then it's these infrastructure guys from Australia and all their new co-workers from Texas and Canada. I believe it's them. They are going to do it, at least as far as I'm concerned. So that's also why I'm pretty vocal about not investing in some of the other players or AI cloud providers out there because yeah, I just don't really believe in diversification for the sake of diversification. So yeah, the real risks are mostly external, I would say. I believe the internal story. I've seen how they operate and what they produce in terms of results and cash flows, and it's a growth story. So every growth story has some risks. I think if they're gonna get the funding for their sites, I think they're gonna do exceptionally well, and we'll probably be sitting here again in a couple of years talking about 250 or 500 billion market cap.
Yeah, well, I would love to do that. Yeah, at that point, we'll be saying, "Oh, is it going to a trillion, 5 trillion, 10 trillion?" But that's a really cool opportunity that you had to both meet with management and to go to the sites in Texas. Can you tell us how that opportunity came about? Did you just reach out to them? Did they see your involvement in the community and then get in touch with you and invite you out? How did that take place?
Yeah, so I wasn't like invited. I attended a conference in Sydney. It was last year. It's called Cheat Code, and I think both CEOs were speaker there. So that's when I was able to meet them. I sat down with Mike Power from IR, and he managed to get me, you know, to get me to meet Dan and Will, and that was really great. So I had a quite long conversation with Will. Dan was only just like 5 minutes because he's a very busy man. But it was good to see them in person, and of course, they know about what I write on X, and sometimes it's not always it's a bit too detailed for their taste, I guess. Some things they'd rather keep inside the company, but yeah, that's just how it is. But so and I think I met Will in the Bitcoin conference as well this year in April. So that's also when we did the site visit. So we made it like a whole road trip where we went from Texas to Vegas, and we visited both sites, and then we met some of the Iren people in Vegas as well. So yeah, I mean, I have to do quite some effort for that to get from Thailand all the way to Dallas. But I mean, it was like a great opportunity to meet some people from X. I met with Dolce, with Agrippa, with all of them basically. Kamasutra was also in Vegas, so yeah, that was great. And I think we'll probably do something similar in the coming year. So I mean, the best things about this is really that you can do it together. You know, you can win together, and yeah.
Yeah, it's always so cool to see these communities form on X, and then you all are sharing research and investing in the company. The company does well, and that leads folks to eventually meet up in person and at these conferences. I saw a similar thing happen with MicroStrategy last year and over the past couple of years. So super cool to hear that's happening with you guys as well. I know one topic you were really interested to talk about was the recent earnings call. So if we could discuss that quickly, that'd be great. What did you like about the earnings report that you saw and heard from management? And was there anything that you wanted to hear that you think they may have missed?
Yeah, so I I would say that on a first glance, the financials of the quarter didn't look that great, but that was, it was a very inflated net profit because of the re-rating of the convertible note and SG&A, notably the stock composition. What I really don't like was blown out of proportion. But during the call, it was explained, and I saw it later in the filing as well. It's because of the RSUs. So the stock price just went up too quick, and that's why you have this mostly one-time hit on the cost side of this SG&A. So it still doesn't look great, but it is what it is. What I did like obviously was the color they gave on the Microsoft deal. There was every day after they brought out the contract until earnings, there were like horror stories, bear stories about how unprofitable it was and what a bad deal it was and how much better Nebius deal was. Luckily, management had a very good explanation for this, and I really like the fact that they are separating the co-location fee from the contract. So they are really showing how an infrastructure as a service contract is for someone who owns the powers and the data centers themselves. But they are still charging a co-location fee internally, which I think is very interesting to see. In this model, you can really see what a co-location provider would earn and what an infrastructure as service cloud provider will earn. And I think I also really like the fact that it's a real partnership. That the quote they added from Microsoft's, I don't know his job at Microsoft, but it really sounded like they are starting a partnership. So that's good. I think having Microsoft as your partner will certainly be, you know, a very important factor in signing a new deal, be it with Microsoft itself or with another hyperscaler. It's going to lower their cost of capital, and these were the most important things that I really liked. And what I really didn't like was the fact that GPUs are going to be later delivered than I anticipated, both for the Microsoft deal as well as for Prince George and the rest of Canada. It's kind of disappointing to me that they are expecting the 23,000 GPUs that they bought in the last couple of months by the latest to arrive by the end of Q1 2026. That's just I mean, that's disappointing because they can retrofit in a couple of weeks, but it takes months to get the chips there. That just doesn't really, you know, that doesn't really sound very good. Why would your unique ability to retrofit really quick, that kind of loses its power when your chips arrive late. So, and the same thing for the Microsoft contract. They have guided for Horizon 1 to be ready by December, but the chips are only starting to ship by March. So what are you doing? You have Horizon 1 empty for 3 months. I just didn't really like that. Maybe they are sandbagging. Maybe they'll say, oh, yeah, we got the chips earlier, ta-da, and look at how great our earnings are. And maybe they'll surprise us next earnings. It was a little bit mixed for me. So I understand the stock is kind of reacting like it was mixed. So I guess we'll just have to sit this one out for a while and see how it's going. It's a great opportunity to buy the dip if you're still accumulating. I mean, you can see the stock is able to run to $80. So buying in the 56, 57 range is no problem for a lot of people. So yeah, I guess they will deliver next year, and maybe this quarter just wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst, you know. So
Gotcha. And Frans, you've had some major home runs here in investing. We've talked about Iren. Yeah, I think you're also early in Metaplanet. How long have you been investing, and what got you into it? Right. I'd imagine this wasn't your first foray, so I'm curious how long back does your investing journey go?
I only started to invest. Well, okay, if I'm really going back to when I was younger, I think I bought a little bit of Bitcoin and Litecoin in 2012 or 13. I have a very old Kraken account, but I had no idea what I was doing, and I sold it all at a loss. It's like I was like early 20s or something. It's like super long ago. So that was, I guess, my first time investing. And then I just been then I bought a house, and I obviously didn't have any spare cash anymore to invest. And it was not until I sold my house that I had a large amount of money. So about 2.5 years ago, I opened my current portfolio, and yeah, last year in 2024 is when I really made the best investment. So that's when I got Metaplanet in May for I don't know, 40 yen, 50 yen. So it's super cheap, and I trimmed a lot of that and rotated that into Iren. So yeah, I have a good cost basis for Metaplanet, for Iren, and now I also have some EOS, which I bought below $4. It's currently trading around $18. So yeah, I do all right. I am going to quit my company. I am a business owner and a CEO of a company in Europe that I run remotely from Thailand. I've decided to quit because it's just taking too much of my time, which I want to invest in X and in investing. And I just, I don't need the financial means from that anymore. I have my investments, and this is paying the bills easily. So I'm going to become a full-time investor and a Twitter analyst.
Well, congratulations on that. That's a huge milestone. And just curious, what does the company do, and what do you what's your like main role, main mission at the company?
Yeah, so it's actually an e-commerce company. So it's trade. So we import and we export and we distribute. It's mostly B2B. So it's like a wholesale e-commerce company. It's quite easy to do relatively large amounts of revenue with a little headcount, which is important in Europe because the salaries are pretty rough and you can't fire people easily. If you get into trouble, for example, you probably looking at bankruptcy relatively quickly, as opposed to the US where it's more easy to fire people. And yeah, so it's been trade, wholesale trade of electronics. I've done all kinds of trends. I've been in there since 2007. So it's been enough for me. I've done it almost 25 years now. So I'm well, 25 years, is it correct? No, almost 20 years. I it's enough.
Yeah, no, gotcha. And I mean, you're killing it in the investing arena, and like you said, something you're doing almost on the side. Imagine you were doing it full time, and you seem to have a special eye too for identifying these really big opportunities early. You mentioned you were buying Bitcoin very early. What do you think that is for you that helps you see sort of these trends before they really take off?
The answer to this is really simple. Is you need to be in touch with the right people. It's all about the network. So the reason why I found out about Bitcoin is because I was doing business with another guy who's same age as me, and he was actually um, ordering these riser cables from me, and I was importing those from China. So we did this business together, where he was selling these cables to people that were building these mining. I think it was with CPUs back then. So these mining rigs, and we provided the cables for that. So he actually said, "Look, I can also make you a Bitcoin miner," and he gave me an invoice, and if I would sign it and buy it, he would come and bring all these miners into my office. I had like a very big second floor office that we didn't use. He could chug it full with like these Bitcoin miners, and we're talking about 2012 or 2013. And my business partners at the time discouraged me to do it, and then I told him I won't do it. But I bought a little bit, but then I sold it as well. But the same thing actually. So it was because I knew that guy, and the same thing happened with Metaplanet. I followed Dylan Leclerc on X, and I saw that he was. I followed him on YouTube. I saw the video, and the next day I just smash bought like 10,000 shares or something, and well, I averaged up a little bit, and then I thought, okay, now it's enough, and then it just kept running, and at some point I had like 40x on my Metaplanet share, so it was I trimmed a lot then, but with Iren it's the same thing. So you have 5 miners, and then you have 20 people you talk to, and then out of those 20, you see that the 3 or 4 smartest guys are only talking about one of them, and then you feel more like, okay, I'm gonna hang out with these guys, and yeah, so it's all about people. It's just your network. So you gotta accumulate the right connections on Twitter. So you gotta follow the right people, and that's how you can get these opportunities to be early with things. Now,
All right, Frans, objectively, who are the top 5 folks we should be following on X to get this kind of alpha as of today? I'm taking notes.
uh, I I would say Mon is a really good one. A Mon investor. I don't know his handle. I just know his Twitter name. Um, and uh, Gian Jim. He's a Jian Liu, I think is Liu is his Twitter handle. He writes very in depth about Iren and about some of the other. I think Kraken, the is one of those. This supplier to Anduril for underwater drones, stuff like that. Um,
And even outside of this space, like you were talking about other opportunities you've looked at, if there are other things, you know.
yeah. Well, it's difficult because I usually follow like the biggest bulls inside the one or two stocks. You know, it's not. Oh yeah, the tech investor is a very good one. Um, but he's also a big iron bull now, so a lot of his posts are about iron. Iron is really contagious. If you start to like see what their potential is, it's very hard to start to get enthusiastic about something else that is not as in depth. It's it's not really great actually because there are always opportunities out there. So it's good to keep an open mind to new stocks. Uh, so I don't know. I can't give you 5 names. I would say,
You gave us our
just
starting 3 right there. Well, we'll get started with that. Thank you. Okay, so as we wrap up here, I'm curious because you talked about living internationally. How does maybe being outside the U.S. change the way you think about investing? Specifically in these miners, and maybe outside of this space as well. Like, are there some specific advantages that you think maybe give you an edge over American investors?
yeah. So I'm a European from descent. So I mean, I'm not. I don't really know how U.S. investors would, you know, have a different way of going about with their investments. What I do know is that some of the US brokers have a big advantage over non-US brokers. So, for example, Robinhood is very easy to give people margin if they perform, whereas my broker uh, punishes me for having too much concentration. So they would not call me and say, "Hey, Frans, you won a 500,000 of margin extra because you did so well last month, or your stocks are up 10x." No way. They will just say, "Yeah, look, we're gonna charge you 110% margin on every iron share you have because you just have too much of iron, and this is a concentration risk. It's our house rule." So um, yeah, no, I think there is a big advantage of being US based. I mean, it's the biggest market of the world, and there's the best companies are there. But for me, compared to being back in Europe or being here, I just have a lot more peace of mind. I don't have to focus about the tiny little regulations and rules they have over there. I pay my taxes here, which are a lot lower. The inflation is not as strong here. Cost of living is lower, so um, my spending here is less than I would be spending in Europe. Um, it gives a lot of uh, a positive, a lot of advantages for me to be here compared to being back in Europe. Plus, I get the good weather here and the nice beaches. So, you know, I think peace of mind is a very good, you know, is something important to have when you're investing. If you have that and you're not investing your last bit of saving because you have to pay so many costs or your cost of living are too high, it's more easy to take some risk if you have conviction. So I guess those two things make it for me here. to be more successful than I would be back home.
Yeah, definitely. The peace of mind piece is really important there. And final question from my end as we close here. You talked about how important the power and energy is to the core thesis of Iren and these other mining companies. Are there any specific regions around the world that you think could potentially introduce favorable energy or other policies that would make them especially interesting or promising for either Bitcoin mining investments or future data center areas, etc.
Yeah, so uh, there are some regions in the world that have their advantages. For example, the cooler countries, for example, Nordic countries in Europe, they have a lot of advantages in terms of cooling. So you get a lot of free cooling, Iceland, Norway, things like that. But there are a lot of renewables there, but the electricity prices are a little bit higher. If you go back to, for example, Texas, where there is an abundance of renewable energy that's pumping into the grid, it's not as favorable in terms of climate. The temperature is a lot higher there, so you need to spend more on cooling, but the electricity rates are so much lower that it's still worth it. And there are some regions in the world where they have like basically almost free electricity um, due to, for example, hydropower. I know in Africa there are some countries where you can mine really, really cheap Bitcoin, but they have more regulatory issues like very strict import rules. I know this company that I forgot which country it was, but it's extremely time intensive to import mining machines into some of these countries in Africa. But once you're there and you got them, then it's really low cost. But I think on in general, I would still say that purely for Bitcoin mining, I think regions like Texas are on average the best because of the very low cost of power. Even at some parts of the day, you're mining for free or you get paid by the utilities to take their power. So I think that is for specifically for Bitcoin mining is the most important. In terms of data centers for AI, some jurisdictions are just more suitable for it because simply for the fact that there's less, strict regulations and opposition. For example, Australia is pretty hard. I know that's why Iren, for example, is not focusing on Australia. It's just too burdensome for in terms of following all the local regulations and the opposition from the Australian people and complaints about rising power prices, and you don't really get that in rural Texas, where you're actually where you in fact helping the grid to really relieve the strain on the grid. So you know, I guess right now the theme is the large sites with the most amount of power are the best for these large data centers. So you go where the most power is at the lowest price. So you still end up in these regions in the US for the most part.
Gotcha. Well, wonderful, Franz. This has been great, super insightful. It's great to hear from someone who has been doing the homework early on and has, gotten to their own conviction and has remained convicted through the ups and downs here. So, thanks again for sharing your thoughts with us and what you're seeing in the company and where you see things headed.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, Charles. I had a great time talking to you, and yeah, I hope the price of the stocks are a bit better after we're finished, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, this is the bottom signal. Not financial advice. Gotta say that. Okay. All right, friends. Until next time, we'll see you later.
All right, bye bye.